Alright, so in these next couple of videos, I want to go over a couple of different ways that we can use images inside of ZBrush to help us sculpt. Okay, and using reference images is not uncommon at all. It's certainly not to be thought of as cheating or anything like that. And when you start working in a studio, certainly if you're working as a modeler, you're going to be using reference images all the time. I mean, in fact, your job will mostly be comprised of, as a modeler, being given some sort of reference images and asked to model that. All right, and certainly how close you model something to the reference is really important. All right, so using reference images is very important, and it's very commonly used, and so you should kind of really get in the habit of using using a lot of reference. Certainly using Google Images or Pinterest or sites like that. There's no shortage of finding great reference images. Okay, so in these next couple of videos, we're going to go over how we can bring reference images into ZBrush to help us. Okay, so the first way we're going to do this, well, just let me explain really the two different ways. One way is to have images, just to say a series of images, kind of in front of us, maybe right next to us while we work. All right, now this is great if you have limited screen real estate. If you only have one monitor, if you don't have a second monitor where you can put reference images up, maybe you're just working on your laptop, but you want to bring some images up, and it's a hassle to certainly hide ZBrush, look at your reference, and then go back to ZBrush and sculpt, and then hide ZBrush, and or if that's how you're working. If we can put reference images up right in front of us, it will improve our workflow. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Right here, I've got my default ZBrush interface right here with Lightbox showing. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and there we go. All right, let me go ahead and I want to change this to my custom user interface. I really like working with that, and if you haven't seen it yet, there is a video on this custom user interface that I've made available to you guys. I'm going to come up here and just click this button here, and you'll see right up here the name of the interface that's being shown right now. And I've got several up here, but I'm looking for a specific one right here, PRM Custom 01. All right. So my Lightbox is still showing there. I'm going to hit comma to hide that, and I'm just going to hit New Document just to give me a full screen space right here. And actually, let me bring back my Lightbox because I do want to bring some geometry into the workspace here. So I'm just going to double click the default Dynawax, bring that in, and turn off perspective. I really do not like working with perspective on very much. I mean, sometimes I will turn it on, but for the most part, base shaping and that sort of thing, perspective tends to just slightly warp things a little bit. Doesn't give me a real true sense of the shapes that I'm trying to get. So I prefer to work with perspective off. Now, when I do some rendering, perhaps inside of ZBrush, I may turn perspective on for that. Okay, but typically when I bring something in, I make sure perspective is turned off. All right. So let's go ahead and bring some images in. All right, and let me move this guy over here a bit. I'm going to go ahead and open my divider right here and come up to Texture and just grab this little circle right here and drag it over. All right. So we want to bring in some images that we can use just to have next to us while we sculpt. So we're going to import those images. Okay, again from the texture palette that we dragged from over here. Import. All right, and we can bring in images one at a time. Just click and bring it in. All right, and you can see there's the image right there. All right, or we can import several images by holding Shift. All right, and if I hold Command, I can even get this stray one up here. Okay, and open those up, and you can see this gets all populated with those images. All right. Now, to bring them into ZBrush, into the workspace here, all I need to do is click the image. You can see that right now the images are in ZBrush, but they're not loaded. All right. So if I click it, there you go. That now it's loaded. All right. And I can now, if you see right here, this button, Add to Spotlight. I'm going to add it to Spotlight. Spotlight is the tool that we're going to be using to display our images. Okay. And just as a side note here, Spotlight does have several other uses. All right. It's mostly used as a painting device. Okay, we can use Spotlight to paint color information from our images onto our model. All right, that's a whole other topic. All right, we're going to be using Spotlight just to use as putting up reference images. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, I clicked on here. I loaded this image. Now I'm going to add to Spotlight. All right, and you can see right away, Lightbox opens up. We get this dial, and there's that image I just added to Spotlight. All right. So since I have several other images, I'm not going to do anything else right now except load all of the images up. Right. So I'm going to click on this one. It becomes loaded. Add to Spotlight. And I'm just going to go through and add each one of these to Spotlight. All right. So, you can do this with one image. You can do this with several images. Whatever, depending on what you're doing. Sure. Okay. There we go. All right. So I've got all my images now loaded into Spotlight. I'm going to close up. Well, I'll just leave that open for a second here. But first thing, when you use Spotlight, when you activate Spotlight, the light box opens up, and it always kind of just, again, the reason we're kind of doing this is because you may have limited screen space. So we want to hide Lightbox just to, again, to give us more screen real estate here. All right, and the first thing you'll notice about this is we get this dial, and this dial is what controls our images here. All right. If I grab that dial in the orange circle here, I can move the dial out of the way. All right. All right, and let's kind of just look at some of these buttons on the dial here. All right. The first one that you may want to look at is right down here. You can see we've got a series of these three right here: tile proportional, tile selected, and tile unified. So if we click that, all of the images will be tiled over to the left, all unified in their size. All right. Tile selected. All right. This first one was the one we brought in, so that is being, I guess, considered the selected one. So it's the most prominent one. All right. And this one right here, tile proportional, is kind of one I like. It kind of just puts them all off to the side in based on their proportions. All right. So again, I can grab this orange circle and move this over. All right. I can select an image just by clicking it. And if I click outside of the orange circle, between the orange circle and here, I can move that image. All right. Now I can do whatever with that image. If I wanted to, say, scale it. All right. Move it over here a bit. All right. Now you can see it's behind some images there. I can put it in front somehow. Where is it? Move it over. All right. Maybe this. There we go. All right. But you can see that you just have to click and drag on a lot of these for scale. Oops, that one's selected right now. Okay, so I can move these around any way I want. Okay, and if I'm happy with this, if I like this setup, my Spotlight setup here, I can save that, save Spotlight right here. All right, and let me go back to, let's see. Okay, and I've already saved one right here. It's a ZSL file, Anatomy01 ZSL. So if you save that, all right, it'll save this file. So next time I come into Sculpt and I don't want to, if I don't, so I don't have to bring all these images in separately, I can just load that spotlight right there and bring in that ZSL file. And I can make several of these. I can make one for just anatomy, one just hands, what have you. Okay, I can have all sorts of them. So, it's a great tool to use. I can come in here again. Let's just look at some of these other features on the dial right here. I can select an image, say this one right here, and again move the dial out of the way, and I can delete it. Okay, I can scale them. I can adjust the opacity on them if I want to make them a little bit dimmer, right? If I want to start sculpting on my model now, all I need to do is hit Z, okay, Z or Z on my keyboard, and now I can move my model around and start working on it. Now, there is one other thing I need to do, all right, before I can start sculpting on my model here. Right, if I go to my clay tubes brush, all right, you can see I'm sculpting on here and it's not doing anything. All right, I need to come up to brush. Okay, let me go ahead and dock that over here. Okay, I need to come over to brush, scroll down to samples, okay, and turn off spotlight projection. And now you can see that in my custom user interface here, I've got this button right up here. All right, because I use it enough. I use Spotlight to bring images out, and to be able to sculpt, I need to be able to sort of turn off the projection feature of Spotlight. All right, so if I click on that, all right, now with my clay tubes brush, all right, I can come in here and I can start sculpting on this. Okay, so if I hit Z again, I can bring back the dial. All right, select a different image, scale it up, move it over here. Okay, again, hit Z to hide the dial again and start sculpting. I can certainly use all of my all of my sculpting tools are available to me. Okay. If I want to hide this completely, if I hit Shift Z, all right, Shift Z will hide it completely, just to get it out of the way if I don't need it anymore. Okay. Shift Z to bring it back, Z to bring up the dial. Okay. Z to hide the dial. Shift Z to hide the images. All right, and then I continue to sculpt as normal. All right, so using Spotlight like this is an excellent way to bring up images. We can save our Spotlight images right here. We can delete them. We can flip them around. All right, upside down. We can do, all sorts of things to them. A lot of these buttons right here really we don't have any need for. We're not going to be colorizing them, or we don't need to really nudge them, or we don't need to paint them. So, because again, Spotlight is primarily a painting tool. All right. So, hopefully, you'll be able to set up some images, save them, and start collecting a certainly if this is going to be something that you do often enough, you'll want to start saving various Spotlight reference files. Maybe hands, noses, mouths, whatever. All right. In the next video, we're going to go over how to use images inside of ZBrush as image planes that we can actually model against.